you could focus upon any subject and maintain your clarity.
And that's been my challenge. When my family has...
So, do you see what you're doing? It's fun to watch, isn't it? You'd like it if you were out there and somebody else was doing this. So we say, let's go over here, and you say, but first, let's go over here. And then we say, you got to go over here, and you say, but that's my problem. I don't know.
Okay, so just let it go.
You got no choice. The way you're going at it, it's just going to get bigger and 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 less clear 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 and less clear.
So just don't care.
Well, be nice. When you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So it's too late for you to not care. You've already cared. You've already put a big time request that your inner being is all over here with clarity. You have to find a way to let that subject be less active within you, or focus on a subject where it's easy to feel clarity. We know it feels different than what you've mostly always done, because most people say, I've got this problem and I will focus upon this problem until I solve this problem. When what really happened is you didn't solve that problem until you just got tired of focusing on it.
And it resolved itself.
It resolved itself in response to your wanting, but it will always resolve itself. The question is, when will you let it happen? When will you let the resolution in? Because the resolution's underway, but just in this little bit of time we've been talking, we moved a little toward resolution, and then you jerked it back. You see what we're getting at? Well, that's my problem. Well, that's what's wrong.
Okay.
And we said this earlier. What's going on in your life now, it feels big, and it feels so real, and it feels like I should talk about it. It feels like I should face the reality of it. That's the way you've all been trained. Let's face reality. And we say, well, you can, and most do, but you want the clarity of creating reality. You're tired of facing the reality that you created by default. You want to start creating the reality rather than facing the default reality. These are the words that we've been offering just for a really brief time, like a few days. You must put separation between step 1 and step 3. And that's what slows most people way, 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 way down. They are obsessed with the problem. They're obsessed with the question. Gotta find it, gotta find it, gotta find it, gotta find it. How often do you read about or hear about some really productive, really creative, what your world calls a genius, and you read that they often went off and took a little nap in the day because they knew how to put separation between the question and the answer, or the problem and the solution. And you have to do that too. Your vortex is full of wonderful solutions, but you can't get there, and it's all right. But when things aren't the way you want them to be, you take on the attitude, almost everybody does it, that something's wrong. Often it moves into, I've done something wrong. It's not where I want it to be. And then you get defensive. And it's that defensive feeling that makes you want to keep talking about it. If I could just shift the blame. I'm feeling it here, I want to shift it over there. It doesn't matter whether you feel responsible for it or you think someone else is. You're still holding yourself apart from your inner being who's not giving any blame to anybody. There's this misconception that so many people have that goes like this. In order for me to feel happy, others have to get me. They have to understand where I'm coming from. So then you just want to explain yourself incessantly to others who can't hear, because it's not their job to get you. And they're really not good at getting you.
I truly understand that.
That was snarky.
No, I'm in all sincerity.
No one's really good at getting you. Nobody is really good at getting you. But you so want to be gotten. You so want to be understood. Almost everybody is creating the image of themselves through what others are getting about them. You see. And you got to stop doing that, because most of the time they don't care. And if they do care, they have a misimpression of you. You want to see yourself through your own eyes of clarity. You want to know yourself as your inner being knows you. And you want to know others as your inner being knows you. And right now, you have quite a large difference of opinion about the way your inner being feels about you and the way you feel about you, and the way your inner being feels about them and the way you feel about them. And reconciling that vibrational difference is what clarity is. And reconciliation, reconciliation doesn't mean that you've got to go change your beliefs about all of them. It just means don't keep those beliefs active. Activate others. It would be like, Let's say there's someone in your life who is truly annoying, and they seem to just deliberately try to get your goat. But along with that not pleasant trait that they have other things that you really do appreciate. You could focus upon those other things and you'd find clarity. But we don't recommend that you start with them, because it's the hardest, because you've got so many habits already associated with the way you feel about them, that if you start with them, you just go into that default vibration, and it's very difficult. But if you can get off the topic, so what did we just say? You want to get into the receiving mode and then receive from source. But most everybody is wanting to convince them to think differently about you and the things that you care about, so that you can get your information from them. And when they don't do it, because they can't do it, because they're not supposed to do it, because that's not the way it works. Do you know the people that give you the most trouble in your life are the people that on your behalf we appreciate the most? Because those really easy to get along with people, those people that just bend over backwards to give you everything that you want, they don't prepare you for your own autonomy. Your world just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You have to really work hard to find people that love you enough that they'll just make everything about you, and that they'll just change themselves in all the ways that you need them to, so that you can feel good. But those hard cases that don't do that, those people who just be who they are and you can like it or lump it, we think they are so helpful to you because they cause you to look for clarity in all the right places, to look for love in all the right places, you see. Sometimes people have things going on that you don't even understand fully, but you hold them responsible for the way they make you feel. Well, there's no freedom in that, or clarity. You're sort of getting what we're talking about?
I am.
Yesterday on the airplane, Esther had 2 really nice flights. And on the last flight, there was a very nice man sitting next to her, and he was very tall. And it was clear when he sat down that he didn't want somebody to talk to him. And that was a good match for Esther too, because she wasn't looking for conversation either. So they just said hello, and then he proceeded to try to get himself situated. And as he did, he was so tall and long for his seat that it was hard for him to get comfortable. And he wanted to sleep, and so he was leaning over against the window. And he was just wiggling all around, and it wasn't bothering Esther, except that she knew he was not comfortable. And he kept sort of banging his head on the window and trying to get comfortable. And so Esther offered him the pillow that had been given to her that she wasn't using. So he gave her the nicest smile, settled in, and went right to sleep. So then the flight attendant brought his wine, and he was asleep. And so it sat there in a sort of scary way, because he had a tendency to flail about a little bit while he was asleep. And Esther knew that there was a possibility that he might flail the wine right into her lap. And so she was really aware of his wine while she was contemplating things and enjoying the flight, and never really took her eyes off the wine. Even the flight got a little bumpy and the wine got a little loose, and Esther got a little aware, and she thought, I could put my hand over it. She was the protector of his wine. So during this flight, Esther became a sort of friendly, not be known to him, facilitator of his well-being. Somehow she's just started taking care of this sleeping person. And so when she saw him start to stir, she picked his wine up and held it over here until he settled back into his big body in the big seat. And then she said, "This is yours." And he smiled again and took it. And then the flight landed. And now all of a sudden he has to go to the bathroom. So he gets up and goes into the restroom, and the flight attendant is having a nervous breakdown. "Sir, we are on an active runway. Sir, we are on an active runway. Sir, we are on an active runway." He went into the bathroom. Something was more important to him than the active runway. And Esther did not like one bit the way the flight attendant talked to her new friend. She got all sort of stirred up in it. Well, when he'd gotten on, he had a beautiful leather jacket which he had handed to her to hang, and some other hanging clothes that she had hung. And now it's time to get off. And he opened the closet that they were in, and she yelled at him again. You're not supposed to help yourself into that closet. Now, Esther is not saying anything, but she's got her nose all over in that business. She was sitting there living happily ever after, and all she was doing is just observing the life that was happening around her. And she wanted to just sort of punch that flight attendant out a little bit, because she was just being unnecessarily rude and officious. And this really, really nice man, all he did was need to go to the bathroom, and all he did was want to be helpful by getting his own things from the closet when he noticed that she was not making any movement to do that. So that's just the first part of this story. So now, Esther had meditated that morning. Esther had had a wonderful morning. In other words, things were going very nice for Esther until she stuck her nose in business where it didn't belong. You see what's going on? Esther found a different vibrational stance. So now, Esther goes into the washroom, the bathroom, and she is washing her hands, and there's a woman behind her who is also washing her hands. And so Esther washes her hands and holds her hand and gets the paper out and is drying her hands, and the woman is struggling with the dispenser. She's banging on it. She can't figure out. Nothing will come out of it. So Esther held her hand up to her dispenser, handed it to the woman. Here you go. And the woman said, I need more than one of those. And Esther said, here you go. She just took them. There was no appreciation. And Esther said to herself, that's about right. That's about right. Now, Esther was only involved in that for a little while. You see what we're getting at? The universe is responding to your now vibration. Once it's happening, you can't fix it. You can't fix it with words. It's what's happening before.
So just ride the wave.
Ride the wave. It is what it is. Just say that to yourself. Well, it is what it is. Or as Esther said, well, that's about right. Well, that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Because she knew when it was now happening to her, when someone was after her, she knew she had become the victim that she had just witnessed. She took all of that on. People should not be not nice to nice people. People should be nice to nice people. In fact, I'm such a nice person that I gave her not one towel, 2 towels. And she still wasn't nice to me. How nice does a person have to be to get somebody to be nice to them? Just what do you have to do? I think we should have a seminar on be nice to people. You should all be nice to everyone. But people are going to be whatever they're going to be, and you're going to hook in with them however you hook in with them, and in any case, it's your fault. In any case, it's attraction, 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 attraction. And when you get that, now you're in control. Well, that's about right. And further, I know exactly why that's happening. Because things were going so beautifully. Esther was having a wonderful day. Everything was lovely. Everything was lovely until she started watching something that was not any of her business. Not any of her business. And clearly there were things still in her vibration that activated easily, but they didn't need to. Esther could have turned her attention away. Esther had already noticed, this is interesting, Esther had noticed that these flight attendants were particularly attentive. She really liked the announcements that they gave. They were nice to hear. They were different words than she usually hears. She was all full of appreciation for them until she witnessed something that was inappropriate by everyone's standards and let that be the dominant vibration within her as she sort of marched around into the bathroom, not even knowing that she was carrying that vibration. But she had pre-paved it. It was active within her. It came right back to her to say, here you go, Esther. This is how you feel. This is how you feel. This is how you feel. And what's really funny, the whole thing bothered Esther a lot more than it bothered her sleeping friend. If her sleeping friend was bothered by things like that, he wouldn't have gotten up and gone to the bathroom on an active runway. He wouldn't have opened the door of something that had no business. Esther would never get up on an active runway. He didn't even care. And Esther suffered so much that she brought to herself something that she deserved. Helpful?
I get that. Thank you.